so great, I don't have a mark on my face, and my upset not in Lisbon, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. If God's with me, ain't no matter if you're just the same. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes? Shit.
Good night, and welcome to yet another episode of This Just In. I'm Marsha Boyce, and with me, the usual gang, and Neil Hoyt. Now, tonight we have a special new segment for you, This Just In or Out. So you want to stay tuned to the very end to see what we have in store for you. You don't want to miss this new segment. A show of basketball, so to speak, specifically the NBA, that will be our focus tonight. And guys, it seems as if between free agency, the NBA draft, and all of these trades, right now is just as exciting as, let's say, the bubble itself, because every day you look around, every hour you have to constantly keep up to date with the news because it's coming fast and furious with a lot of movement in the league. So we're going to start, first of all, with the Lakers. With the moves and the trades and all of the, business deals that have gone down for the Lakers, could this franchise be seen as even better now than it was last season? Neil, as a Lakers man, of course, I will be starting with you.
Of course.
Good night, everybody. Justin. What I would say is that so this is going to be a very ticklish one for me, right? Like, I obviously on paper we would have gotten obviously very younger. We have sixth man in the year, Montrezl Harrell. He's 26. We have Wesley Matthews is 34, which is, I would say, replacing Danny Green, who is 33, but not as good a defender, but he is a bit of a more consistent 3-point shooter than Danny Green. We got rid of Rajon Rondo. We got Dennis Schroeder, which is a big upgrade in terms of his play last season during the regular season. I think he scored the ball at 19 points a game, netting something like I think it was 6 assists per game, 5 or 6 assists per game, or no more. Regardless, I think we've gotten better. I think that with the moves that we made, we just signed Marc Gasol. I think we have. I think the obvious issues that they would have had last season, which would have been 3-point shooting and having threats at all positions on the floor, deep down into the bench, has been remedied. So with Marc Gasol, he can stretch the floor and he can still be viable inside the paint area. And he, even though he's a bit slower at his mid-30s, he's still a good defender for bigs in the league. He's a good man off the bench to help get you some minutes during the regular season. Obviously, as the playoffs go, you may see less and less of him. Montrezl Harrell, we've seen what he did with the Clippers last season, especially in the playoffs. He is a spark plug off the bench. He is a man that grabs his lunch pail and comes to work every day and does not complain. To me, he is Dwight Howard. He's essentially Dwight Howard light. I can't even say like a poor man's Dwight Howard, simply because where Dwight Howard is in his career versus Montrezl Harrell, I think that is a good replacement. He brings high energy around the basket. He grabs rebounds. He defends the key. He's a bit small at his position, but at 6'7", he's a bit small. But in today's NBA, especially if you're going small, he makes all the difference in those lineups. So he could play a good power forward or center, especially if you have Anthony Davis on the court. You should be all right. Marc Gasol being a viable center. They're getting rid of JaVale McGee, which is going to be a bit of a loss of athleticism. You've lost JaVale McGee and you've lost Dwight Howard. But I still think that we have good pieces around the basket that can bring high energy and high intensity in terms of rebounding and battling for rebounding and boxing out and defending. I don't know if I would say we have as many. So like Dwight Howard in the pick and roll situation, as well as JaVale McGee, they were problematic in the pick and roll situation last season, particularly in the playoffs. It is left to be seen now if that pick and roll situation can work, because we don't have Rondo now. Yes, we have LeBron James, but we have Dennis Schroeder, who I don't know if he's obviously not as good in the pick and roll as Rajon Rondo. You have Montrezl Harrell, who is not as athletic as the other guys. So I mean, I think we've gotten younger. I think that will serve us going forward. We have glue guys. We have guys that can get things done. Wesley Matthews can shoot the ball and he can defend to some degree. Dennis Schroeder is a great point guard. Defense maybe a little lacking, but he still gives the intensity and heart. We've got rid of some pretty old veterans in Rajon Rondo, McGee, and Dwight Howard. We kept Markieff Morris, who was a good defender, a scrappy guy. So I mean, I think the team is. I think we are. Those were good moves considering the landscape of the free agency and considering what we would have wanted coming out of a championship season. It's left to be seen about chemistry and to see if those guys can mesh together. But I don't see why not. We still have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and it's really to see if Kyle Kuzma could wake up and answer the call. But other than that, the concerns that we would have had last season with the ineptitude of Danny Green and Rajon Rondo, wondering if he's really going to turn into playoff Rondo or if his player has passed him.
We got the playoff
yes,
Rondo.
Playoff
Oh
Rondo.
my gosh, here we are again.
Alex Cruz is still there. So I mean, we have good pieces, good players, younger players. Guys that can get up and on the floor and that would give high intensity. So I mean, I think we're just fine. I think we are better. We're younger, and we have more guys that are willing to get in the mud, so to speak.
So Justin, what about you? We're talking about the defending champions. Everybody will be gunning for them. Do you think they're looking better headed into this 2020-2021 season?
You would think that I am the Lakers fan, but trust Neil, as usual, to be PC here. So I will give the hype for Neil, who refused to, actually be a Lakers fan here.
Oh, dear.
Marshall, not only are the Lakers better than last year's title-winning virgin, I'm going to put it here. The only thing that is going to stop them from winning back-to-back titles, no, is LeBron James's health or lack of rest.
I thought you were going to say coronavirus.
No, well, or something to that effect. But, and I'm going to go it from the other way around, so I won't, be too repetitive with Neil mentioning the additions. Every other title contender, when you list from top to bottom, have gotten worse in some way. When you look at Neil's Toronto Raptors, I know he loves Raptors. Let's start there. They've lost.
Wait. You said Neil's Toronto Raptors?
Yes, don't forget, me and Marshall remembered last season when you were high on these Raptors and they told you that's not even getting to Eastern Conference Finals. I warned you about those Raptors, but you wouldn't hear.
I see how you're playing it. I see. Go ahead.
Neil's Toronto Raptors have now lost Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol up front. Probably will make the playoffs, but that's a one and done more than lately. When you see the Denver Nuggets that made the Western Conference Finals, I think they just lost Jeremy Grant. Can't remember where he's gone in free agency. I can ask Neil or Marshall to type in and look up there quickly. But he's gone in free agency. When you look at the Houston Rockets, we know both of their star guards are inevitably going to be traded. Don't mind all the posturing that Houston has made, and they're making a lot of posturing, saying they are in no rush or they don't need to trade either guard, but that's folly. I mean, you don't hire a first-year GM and a first-year coach unless you're rebuilding. Like, the signs are on the wall. So, and I mean, it wasn't like the GM left and it was not like he was leaving because he was retirement. Look how quickly Daryl Morey got a job in Philadelphia. You look at the Boston Celtics, Marsh's Boston Celtics. They just lost. They just lost Gordon here for absolutely nothing. Like the man left. And I want to get to Marsh's GM, always trying to win every. There was apparently a trade on the table for Gordon Hayward for the center from Indiana. Help me here, Neil. My mind has lost.
Sabonis?
No, not Sabonis. The young kid's name is going to come to me eventually. They had that trade, and of course, Danny Ainge wanted more. So he wanted Victor Oladipo and a pick. Danny Ainge, are you kidding here? So Boston has just lost Gordon Hayward for absolutely nothing. And then you look at the Clippers, lost 6 man a year, Montrezl Harrell. Though this is going to sound me very strange, me saying this, I think Serge Ibaka is a better fit for them than Montrezl, because we saw what Denver did with Montrezl Harrell in the paint.
Yeah.
Nikola Jokic particularly abused him, and the coaches all told Doc Rivers, this guy is a defensive liability. We have to play Zubac. But you don't have that defensive liability in a player like Serge Ibaka, who can also space the floor, defend the 4 and 5 spots, protect the paint, protect the rim. So I think he's actually an upgrade to Montrezl Harrell, even though he's older. So I've called all the potential stumbling blocks. Oh, Miami has just lost Jay Crowder. Granted, they added Avery Bradley, but that's not exactly like for like. Milwaukee, will get to that later in the show, but they've not necessarily improved because they've lost a lot of their bench components, notably George Hill, Dante DiVincenzo. So even without your additions, Neil, just by subtraction of the less, you have gotten better. And then so when you look, you got rid of Danny Green. I mean, even if you got rid of him from Mariah Carey Christmas CD, that was a subtraction. Um, so you basically straight swapped him for Wes Matthews, who at this stage in their careers is a more consistent shooter. You mentioned Dennis Schroeder, who is a young, better playoff. Oh, sorry, let me not utter those words. Rajon Rondo. I mean, we've yet to see what Dennis Schroeder will do in the playoffs for the Lakers, but as you mentioned, he averaged 19 points, almost 50% shooting from the field, and 38.5% from behind the arc. So this is a guy that can replace LeBron to run your offense and play next to him because he can shoot the rock. Montrezl Harrell, I'm not a huge fan of Montrezl Harrell's addition. If you're going to play him next to LeBron and Anthony Davis, I don't like that because, again, he doesn't protect the rim, and he has to score by playing in the rim, places that LeBron James and Anthony Davis want to score. But off the bench, as a scorer, that you don't have to worry about finding scoring options, which Neil really struggled with on that bench. And Marc Gasol is a perfect fit, say, next to LeBron James and Anthony Davis in that front court.
Yep.
He's not the shot blocker that Dwight Howard or JaVale McGee are, but he definitely is a great positional defender, an exceptional passer at the position, and a guy who can space the floor. And as you always hear me say, you want a guy, if he's playing next to LeBron James and Anthony Davis, to space the floor. So all those things, sorry for going on this extremely long run, but all those things put together have made
Are you
Lakers
truly
almost.
sorry? Are you truly
Yeah,
sorry?
I'm truly sorry because I'm here bigging up Neil's Lakers. So after all
But let him,
that said and
let him
done,
continue then, Marsha. Let him go ahead.
after that said and done, yeah, the Lakers are, in my estimation, almost a lot to repeat. Once there's no injury to LeBron James or Anthony Davis, they're a lot.
So let us know in the comments then if you agree with these two guys, Neil and Justin. Do you think that the Lakers are indeed looking to be a much better team going into this new season? Drop us a comment there. We'll be able to see your comments, even a question if you want to pose. As well as, you're watching the video, so you could as well go ahead and hit that like button. And if you aren't subscribed, maybe you just, wandered upon the channel in the live section, give us a subscribe, hit that subscription bell, get that notification, give us a like. Now, guys, so you mentioned a lot about, okay, the Lakers are better. Justin, to you, it's that everybody else, got worse. So now my question to you, Justin, I'm going to go to you first then. Which team would you consider to be the most improved after all of this activity?
No, I spent all that about 10 minutes bigging up Neil's Lakers, so let me get to my Suns first. I almost wanted to say the Suns because...
No. Hold on a minute. She asked you a question. She didn't ask you about your team because that is not the answer to the question.
But hold on. Give me a second. So you asked me which team I thought improved the most.
Yes.
And up to, I want to say, early on, I wanted to say the Phoenix Suns because you heard me last week say they are a lot to make the playoffs with the addition of CP3. And for me, gives you a guy, a great veteran, one of the all-time great passers in this league, all-time great point guards. a guy who will definitely get the best out of DeAndre Ayton in that squad. I don't think he makes Devin Booker any better just because of how good Devin Booker already is. And we resigned Dario Saric, and the aforementioned Jay Crowder is with us as well. So that gives us a great person to play the 3 or 4, likely the 4, to give us another floor space alongside somebody like Cam Johnson or Dario Saric off the bench. But I'm going to go and actually say the Atlanta Hawks, if indeed the Sacramento Kings don't match the offer sheet that they have given to Bojan Bogdanovic. That game gives me a lot of problems sometimes. But if they don't match the offer sheet to Bogdanovic, I think this is a guy, 28 years old, one of those players who is not only a three-point specialist, but can create his own shot and a bit of a playmaker so he can create for others. So then they've added him. I think they got the guy from USC. Let me look down so I can pronounce this name correctly because I'm not going to embarrass myself on my own show.
Don't hurt yourself, you know.
A second. Onyeka Okongwu from USC, the USC big man. He provides rim protection, athleticism at that 5-4 spot. Yeah, more probably 5 spot. High motor guy, great athleticism, great rim protector, and also a rim runner. We know before the end of the season, they picked up former Rockets big man Clint Capella. And hold on, I'm missing somebody else. Oh, yes, how can I forget? Arguably the biggest acquisition for them. They would have picked up former OKC forward Danilo Gallinari. Basically, kind of like a bigger Bogdanovic, 40% from behind the arc, I think, just this season in OKC. Average, I think, about 19 points for them. So, decent rebounder for the position, size and versatility to mark both the 3 and 4 spots. The second, shoot the basketball out of it, and then it gives Trae Young some, ease at the playmaking. So Trae Young can take a break, or he doesn't have to start the offense with Danilo Gallinari on the floor. So I want to say, Atlanta. Obviously they're not a title contender or even an Eastern Conference Finals contender, but I think they're also a team you should look for to make the playoffs out of the East now, because those 2 moves, Bogdanovic, if Sacramento doesn't resign Danilo Gallinari and that USC big man, give them a lot of flexibility, a lot of much-needed scoring and versatility to go along with Trae Young. So, yeah, I think that's a team that improved the most.
Neil, what about you?
Well, I agree with all of Justin's points for the Atlanta Hawks. I even was thinking that they would have made some great choices to be that team. But if I were to choose a team, it would have to be your Boston Celtics, Marsha.
Yeah.
I'm all ears, Neil. I'm all ears. Let me hear this.
No, because in my opinion, and this is merely not to agree with you, Justin, to be honest. Right? I keeping the show dynamic, right? So, in my opinion, the Boston Celtics would have kept, obviously, Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker. They've added Jeff Teague. They've added Tristan Thompson. So to me, the addition of Tristan Thompson and Jeff Teague gives you some youth and flexibility at those positions. For example, Jeff Teague is a backup point guard. He can play a bit of 2. He can relieve Kemba Walker on occasion. And he can steady your shit, give you good assists, run some good plays, and be a scoring option as well. Off the bench, Tristan Thompson, as we all know, is great around the basket. He is a decent shot rim protector. He's okay at defense at his position, and he grabs a hell ton of rebounds. So I think that is obviously what Boston would need. They obviously have transitioned now from Gordon Hayward, who's gone to Charlotte Hornets. So it's just interesting to see how that team has improved. To see how they will play and if they can actually get over the hump. To be honest, Miami, by doing very little to nothing, I think they've improved because Avery Bradley is a great defender and he's what's considered a 3-and-D guy. He can score and he matches the temperament of the Miami Heat. Justin, as Justin mentioned, the Atlanta Hawks. The Phoenix Suns have improved, in my opinion. Don't want to give them too much credit, but so there are a lot of teams out there that are making moves, and you can see it. You can see people are adjusting to the new landscape of the NBA. Everybody, I would even want to say that, given the fact that the power is now shifting back to LA and kind of now over there in the West, the East is looking interesting. Charlotte, to me, we've always known Michael Jordan as the kind of, inconsistent, not know what he wants.
What is this PC thing on this show? Not kind of.
Michael Jordan. Your job. That's your job.
Michael Jordan is the Michael Jordan of bad general managers. And that's not even my saying. I've heard that one. The man is terrible. And I think this Gordon Hayward signing may be the best thing he's ever done in his time as a general manager.
So the point I'm trying to make is that I find that they're making some moves where I can see them being like this is the first time I have seen the Charlotte Hornets make moves as if they want to come. If you understand what I'm saying, they've drafted the young guy LaMelo Ball. They have Gordon Hayward. They're making moves as if they really and truly want to. I think they drafted Kenyon Martin Jr.'s son as well. You can see that they're making moves to at least be competitive in the East instead of being in the doldrums of the East. So a lot of teams are kind of rearming. And it's kind of curious to see some teams kind of not do as much. Like, I'm real sorry to say it, but I don't know what the New York Knicks doing.
But I mean, to be fair to the New York Knicks, and it looks so terrible. I think now it's clear that the owner, James Donovan, has to go because them, along with Atlanta, had the most to spend in terms of cap space in free agency. And outside of Alec Burke, and gosh, Alec Burke, no one has been on any offers from New York. No one has gone there. I mean, people have decided to go to Atlanta and said Bojan Bogdanovic, Danilo Gallinari. To Atlanta, of all places, Gordon Hayward, as you just mentioned, is going to Charlotte. And you can't get anybody to take up your cap space to go to New York. I don't know what else. Unfortunately, for the league, it's not a situation like Donald Sterling where you have tapes out there with James Dolan saying things that you can get him pushed out. But when you have cap space and tons of cap space in a time when hardly anybody has that cap space, and you still can't get free agents in a bad free agent crop at that, I don't know what's left to be done to say that James Dolan needs to sell it.
Before we move on, though, I just want to say, I really think we should pour one out for the Golden State Warriors. Their revenge season that everybody was touting, they had Andrew Wiggins. They were expecting the return of Klay Thompson, a healthy.
No, I forgot Andrew Wiggins, boy.
Yeah.
Well, that's how bad of a number one pick Andrew Wiggins is. So no worries, yeah.
Yeah, but he plays in the NBA still. But it's just unfortunate to see Klay Thompson go down with a torn Achilles. In my opinion, it is not good for basketball. As much as you may hate the Golden State Warriors and hate their success in past years, it's just one of those things where you're sad to see it happen to the kid. Torn ACL and now a torn Achilles on the other foot. I can only hope that they can. And to be honest, the Kelly Oubre signing to me is not a bad play because at the end of the day, he had to do something in the moment. As a matter of fact, it was so unfortunate that happened on draft night. And you pretty much, you didn't, they had this number 2 pick and they had to draft based on the plan in their minds. And then you get the news the next day that it is, or later in the evening, it's confirmed he has a torn Achilles. So it's just one of those things. It's unfortunate. But, as they say, the show.
But Neil, to your Boston point, I mean, I don't understand why you've chosen Boston. Because let's say, for argument's sake, the deal is on the table.
You want the truth? You want the truth why you chose Boston? Because you chose my pick, which is Atlanta. And we're not.
I kind of know that. And the reality is, and I've spoken about this, and I knew it would come back to bite him behind at some point. There is no doubt that Danny Ainge is a fantastic GM, arguably the best, if not one of the best in the league. But his desire to outright win every trade is just ridiculous. And there was an offer on the table apparently. Gordon Hayward wanted to go back home. Indiana didn't have the cap space to do it, so it would have to be a sign and trade. And there was an offer. I forgot the boy's name, but they pulled it up now. A straight swap, I think, or it would have to include some sort of money, draft compensation for Miles Turner. And as I said before, Danny Ainge wanted more to include Victor Oladipo. And I'm like, why run the risk, which you have now, of losing Gordon Hayward for nothing? When you're going to get a need, as Marshall can tell you, for her Boston Celtics, you have a need at that 5 spot. And Miles Turner is a perfect fit. He rebounds, he protects the rim, he doesn't need the ball in his hands to score, and he can shoot out to 3-point range. So he can space the floor for Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Kemba Walker. So I just don't understand why your desire to blow away every single trade stops you from making that Miles Turner Gordon Hayward swap. That's crazy because you do that, and I honestly think that you're in a position to win the East. And no, I don't know.
Well, guys, don't forget we have a very new special segment coming up for you in a matter of minutes. This is just in or out. I'll explain a bit then. But before we get to that, I want to touch on the 76ers. They too have been making some moves. For example, you see Tony Bradley going to the Sixers. What is your take, first of all, Neil, on the moves that Philly has been making?
Well, to me, it seems as if they're working toward a goal. I think it all depends on where the Nets come from, right? So, obviously they have new GM, they have a new coach. They're really, truly weighing their options between Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, who to add or who to subtract from those players. You're kind of handcuffed with Tobias Harris and his big contract. I think he's making the most on that team. You've had the process, which in past seasons you would have gone on and gotten rid of a good few set of good solid players, role players. TJ McCollum, not McCollum, sorry. What's his name? TJ McConnell. The boy Jimmy Butler, just to name a few. So it's interesting to see what they're doing. They're making moves. You can see that they're trying. They're on the phone seeing what they could get. Justin and I would have talked about either trade with Houston, but involving either Embiid or Simmons for either Russ or James Harden. So it's just interesting. I actually think that James Harden now is off the table because of some of the moves that they're making there in Houston with regards of getting a center and, trying to go back to traditional basketball. So the play will be for Russell Westbrook. It'll be interesting to see where he lands. But you can see that they're trying. But the issue is if these plans don't come to fruition, the 76ers are going to be the same team as they were last year, just a year older. And that is a problem because, they're not good enough to get out of the East. They're not good enough to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. So it's just a matter of waiting and seeing what moves and what players they can sign and trade and, do whatever they do.
So just any discussion going on in the comments, though, that Philly, if we're being objective, they could be considered the most improved team in this whole free agency period, but they're definitely not going to win. Do you agree?
I think they are vastly, as I couldn't mention it because we were coming to this situation. When you look, let's start. Obviously, you bring in to run your basketball operations a guy I love, Daryl Morey, a very smart guy who, leaves nothing on the table. He's going to try every single possible move to make the team better. He's not a guy that's going to sit down, as we say in this league, the NBA, the No Balls Association. That's not Daryl Morey. He is a guy that will do whatever it takes in his estimation to win. I want to start with the draft. I thought two players who you can argue either might have been a steal in the draft, and Tyrese Maxey and Paul Reed. Yeah, Tyrese Maxey and Paul Reed, those fill positions of need on the bench. Tyrese Maxey, a playmaking guard who can shoot it a bit. Paul Reed, kind of athletic, 4 or 5, to back up Embiid and, Embiid and his struggles staying on the court. So I thought those are valuable pieces. the best move may be just getting rid of Al Horford. Just as I said, Lakers got better just by losing Danny Green. I think Philadelphia jettisoning Al Horford, one, he was a terrible fit on the court for Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. I don't know how they didn't see that beforehand. But also they got rid of that terrible contract. So now they're out of that monstrous contract, the years and money remaining. So they got better in that regard. And then the shooting. You've added arguably the best three-point shooter in the league right now in Steph Curry's brother, Seth Curry. I know I've just roasted Danny Green, but this is the guy who has won 3 titles with 3 different franchises. So they've added Danny Green for some much needed shooting and put those in quotation marks.
No. Championship DNA. No shooting involved there.
Championship DNA and the ability to defend on the wing, 3 different positions Danny Green can theoretically guard. So, yeah. So you've got Danny Green, Curry, those 2 draft picks. Gotten rid of Al Horford. You brought in a coach that has championship winning experience, though you know I'm not high on Doc Rivers. You got a guy in the front office that obviously will do whatever it takes to win in Daryl Morey. And as Neil kind of hinted at, the moves are not exactly finished yet. The goal is to get James Harden. There's no doubt about that. I don't think that's a secret. Probably the most kept secret.
Don't forget Dwight Howard.
Oh, yes. Another backup big, just in case Joel Embiid has to miss significant part of the season again in Dwight Howard. So, and the goal is still to get James Harden in town. So I guess you can still put it incomplete on this. But me personally, I like the moves that Philadelphia has made, especially considering that they know they need shooting, particularly to play with a guy like Ben Simmons, who is not willing and cannot shoot. You need shooting to supplement with him. They got suitable replacements for Joel Embiid in case he goes down. And you got out from that monstrous and terrible Al Horford contract. So, yeah, me personally, I kind of like the moves that the roster has taken. And if it all leads to James Harden, then I'll have to redo and give you a different answer to say that the team that has improved most are the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah, just to kind of add to that really quickly. I would say that. So Justin and I kind of agree on this point. Is the only difference is that they want to try to get that piece, like a James Harden, Russell Westbrook, whomever, right? So if they don't get that person, then you can't call yourself the most improved. I think you need that one more player, that Steph Curry, that James Harden type player. If they can get that person, then it would be a mission complete and mission accomplished. Most improved. But without that, you just got Danny Green. You just got the Lakers light, in my opinion.
Oh, guys, it's been a busy time. Oh, continue, Justin. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, for me, it's just an incomplete, basically. I get what Neil, and I agree, but so for me, it's incomplete. But even in isolation, without acquiring that big piece in James Harden, they still like the moves.
Guys, over in Milwaukee, things have been a bit busy depending on how you're looking at it. Well, just today, they announced that for the 2020-2021 season, they will not be having any fans in games. So even if things free up a bit, they've made the decision that they won't be having any fans in arena for home games until further notice. So that's what's going on, in the front office end. But there's some concern on the basketball operations side of things. And this is where we go into our very new segment, This Just In or Out, where the guys will give us a definitive take on a particular topic, a particular issue, a particular viewpoint, and let us know, is it in, is it out? Do we leave it out? Should we keep it? Are we going to run with it? Are we going to dash it away? That's where they will state their claim on a particular segment. So we're going to start with Milwaukee, specifically Giannis. Has Milwaukee done enough in this period of free agency, the draft, the trades, everything considered, to keep Giannis there? Justin?
I forgot to put my signage, but it can't get a this just in for me. It has to be out. Um, let me see the initial reports. Had they gotten the trade for Bojan Bogdanovic done, then I would say yes, because they would have had arguably, not arguably, they would have had easy five. You'd have had Drew Holiday, Bogdanovic, Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Brook Lopez. So you can say you have basically an all-star or all-star level player at, or all-star caliber player at every position. But I don't know who in their right mind makes a trade for a restricted free agent who has agreed to signing with you. So that fell through. And then as much as I love Drew Holiday, and I really, really do love Drew Holiday, a player who can guard both the 1 and 2 spots, the 3 if need be, a guy who can play both guard spots on the other end, as a guy who can shoot the rock, and another facilitator for their offense, which they really needed. As much as I like Drew, you've given up Eric Bledsoe, an inconsistent performer at the playoff level, we know, but George Hill has been great for them off the bench. DiVincenzo, who I mentioned earlier, you've basically gotten rid of most of your bench, if not all of it. And now all that has been there to show for this is Drew Holiday, who is only a one-time All-Star during his time at the Philadelphia 76ers in the East. That's not enough. Neil and I talked about this on previous episodes, and Neil had a fantastic hot take where he thought Milwaukee would have been gunning for Chris Paul. And I too, after Neil came up with that hot take, thought that was the obvious move to go for Chris Paul in free agency. Well, not free agency, but a trade. It turns out that they never even targeted him. And considering the team that has problems closing out games in the playoffs, looking for another facilitator, another starting point for their offense, I thought Chris Paul was an easy fit, an easy addition to that squad, and it just never made it. So when you just add Drew Holiday to a team and you've lost a lot of what made you strong in your bench, you just add Drew Holiday to this squad, a man who's not been an all-star for probably 6 or 7 years, then no, Marsha, because as we know, anything south of getting to the NBA Finals is not going to keep Giannis in town. And I can't say that move for Drew Holiday has put them better than your Boston Celtics or the Miami Heat, who beat them convincingly in the second round.
Neil, what about you? In or out?
Got to be out. This just out. Truth of the matter is that I agree with all the points that Justin made in terms of, essentially getting rid of Eric Bledsoe for Drew Holiday. They're both the same age, but Drew Holiday obviously is a better fit in terms of just his mentality, his tenacity, and just his quiet demeanor of going about and doing his job. He is a consummate professional at the point guard position. Justin and I are really high on him. But that is not enough. The truth of the matter is that, yes, you've gotten rid of Wesley Matthews, 30, I think he's 34 years old, but you still are one of the oldest teams in the NBA, having Ilsan Ilyasova, Brook Lopez, Marvin Williams. You are still Kyle Kuzma, oh goodness. Not Kyle Kuzma, sorry, Kyle Korver, sorry. You still have one of the oldest teams in the NBA, and that will not get it done. In the end, the reason why a team like Miami would have beaten you in that playoff series is that they wanted more, 1, and 2, they had horses. They had young legs that can get up and down and really keep the constant pressure on you. The Milwaukee Bucks, they're older and they don't have those dogs. They don't have players that seemingly want it. Like, yes, they have players that would dive on the floor and everything like that, and adding Drew Holiday is adding a player that will have that tenacity, but to me, it's not enough. And adding to Justin's points, the team is still an old team, and Giannis needs horse. He is a horse himself. He is a stallion. He needs, as one of our friends that we play basketball with, doves just fly with doves. Horses just run with horses. Horses cannot run with ponies. You understand? They can't run with donkeys. So you need those fresh legs to get up and down the court to really make noise in the East, especially when you see teams rearming in the East. You know what Miami brings. You know what Boston is doing. You see what Philadelphia is doing. You know that Charlotte is making some moves. There are teams in the East that are really looking at the landscape and really saying that they're really making their roster a little more competitive for the East. So I think that, if Milwaukee is not careful, they can lose Giannis Antetokounmpo.
So you guys don't have any faith in other of their other acquisitions, for example, Bobby Portis, Forbes, Torrey Craig, DJ Augustin. No love for these guys?
I
DJ
got love
Augustin,
for them.
go ahead, Neil.
I got love for them in the fact that they're NBA players, and in their own right, they're really good and talented. But to me, it's just a bunch of role players. Bobby Portis, is sad to say, only known for punching his teammate a few seasons ago, right?
I didn't want to be the guy to bring it up, but I like because I was going to
Oh,
bring it
look
up.
at you know who don't want
I
who want to be PC now? But who want
I was going to
to be
bring it up
PC now?
because like Bobby Portis is best known for punching out Nikola Mirotic. That is what he's
Yeah,
known for.
that's what he's known for. DJ Augustine love undersized, and even though he had a really good season last season with the Magic, I still think he. I don't know, man. It's like he is too. He reminds me a lot of Isaiah Thomas, the guy that was on your Boston Celtics. He's undersized. He is scrappy. He has the will to play and give you big games, but he's a bit few and far between in those games. So those players are good role players on a championship level team. The unfortunate thing is the Bucks are not a championship level team before they got there. So it's like you add in, because when your second best player, Chris Middleton, is a glorified role player. I mean, yes, he's an all-star and everything like that, but at best he's a role player. He's a very good role player, but at the end of the day, he still is a role player. You're not starting a franchise with Chris Middleton. When you add in Bobby Portis and you add in DJ Augustine and those players, it's like you just they're loading up on role players. And Giannis is not that superstar to say that he needs guys to make better around him, because Giannis is not that player yet to make players around him make the right play and drive and kick and everything like that. So
I think Neil hit it on the head with Chris Middleton. Reality is he's a fringe all-star only because he's in the East. Very good player, but probably best suited to be a third banana. A guy who, honestly, I don't give him enough credit. I used to think of him just as a spot-up shooter, but he's more of a mid-range player who can get off any shot he wants and create for himself. The reality is, though, you can't win with that as your second best player. You need a guy, if you're going to be your second best player, somebody who can create for others. Hence, why I keep saying, bringing up the Chris Paul point. You brought in Drew Holiday, but Drew Holiday still will not be your second best player. It's still Chris Middleton. So that's why I say like this team is just not. It's going to be good in the regular season. They're going to beat bad teams. They're going to even beat the good ones. They play defense. They play well on the road. But when playoff time comes and you know that the adjustments are made and players are forced to do things that they regularly don't like to do or they cannot do, then you're going to see the holes in this team. Chris Middleton, as I said, is a good role player. As Neil said, and probably a good third banana on a championship winning team. But can you win with him being your second best player? Probably not. You need a guy that can make everyone else around him better as well. That is not Chris Middleton. As I said, I like Drew Holiday. If you had also gotten Bogdanovic, sure, those two players are not also, Chris Paul. But in addition to, it gives you an extremely good starting five. No weaknesses in that starting five as per se. So, but you didn't get Bogdanovic, so Drew Holiday alone and those litany of role players you just called, and there's a reason that they were available, Marsha, and not via trade. Like there's a reason when NBA players become available. There's a reason. So DJ Augustin and Bobby Portis and I don't even know who else you mentioned. They're not
Ryan Forbes, Torrey Craig.
Torrey Craig and Snell you mentioned there, but Snell, no, and definitely no. So,
and then on top of that too, real quickly before we go on, it's not only that they're old, and I don't want people to feel that I just calling the team old just for sake. It's just that some of their
you
key
have a
players.
problem. Come on, let's get. You have a problem. You have a problem with old people. I see it in your face. I don't know what old people have done you, but you are discriminated.
I cannot be ageist because I am the oldest person on this show. I have the grace to show it. I can't discriminate against my own kind.
Well,
But
that's
in
what
all,
happens. But a lot of people hate themselves, so that they see themselves in other things. I hate and hate things. So I don't know.
Continue, Neil. Continue.
this boy. No, it's just that I'm saying the Bucks have all players at key positions, right? When you look at Brook Lopez, he's your starting center. He's two guy at that position going forward in terms of guarding players like Joel Embiid, guarding players like Tristan Thompson. These guys out east and even out west. Now, the issue is that he's 35, 36. That is a problem. You have Kyle Kuzma, who is arguably your best three-point shooter, and he's 39. Sorry. I have Lakers on the mind. Kyle Korver. Thanks, Justin. Right, he is your best three-point shooter at 39. You have Marvin Williams, who's a really good defender, and someone that you would want to guard.
They
Let's
don't
say
even
a
have
LeBron.
Marvin Williams, no Neil. Marvin Williams retired, so they don't even have him.
Oh, Marvin Williams retired.
Yep.
Oh dear. Well, I guess they go a bit younger then. but yeah, the point I'm trying to make is that the players that they have at certain positions, they're just too old for that. I don't have a problem with Kyle Kuzma. Your best three-point shooter has to be a starter. Him coming off the bench, and that's the problem you put with Kyle Korver. My goodness, that's the problem you have with Kyle Korver. With Kyle Korver, you have to either start him, understand what he's going to bring, or you bench him, understanding that you're asking a 39-year-old to come off the bench and give you that three-point spark that you need because he's your best three-point shooter. So I'm not saying he's not professional. I'm just saying that's a tall ask for a player like Kyle Korver. You have Brook Lopez, who, my goodness gracious, as great as Brook Lopez has always been, he's old. So you can't ask him to run up and down for what, 30 minutes, 32 minutes, 35 minutes when the night comes at this advanced age. So, I mean, they need to really get with the times real quick, or else Giannis is going to walk.
Well, let us know in the comments, is this a in or out for you? Did Milwaukee do enough to keep Giannis? Now, guys, I'm going to break down the next, this just in according to the three names, because we're going to focus now on those impressive rookie extensions that we've been seeing coming through. So, first up, Jayson Tatum of the Boston Celtics, a max 5-year, $195 million. This just in or out?
Wait, just is 100 how much?
$195 million, 5 years.
My goodness. I would say that I would be in on that. Jayson Tatum has played really well for the Boston Celtics. He, is their leading scorer. He is. He's a bit inconsistent. Justin and I have talked about this on this show in terms of his leading via scoring and taking that leadership role as your franchise player, essentially, because that's who he is now for the Boston Celtics. I think that he does still need a bit of maturity going forward, but I have no problem with it. I mean, shoot, I wish it was 22 right now and two good Bs. My goodness, 5 years, 195 million. Ooh.
Justin, this just in or this just out?
This just in. And I'm going to sound repetitive, but it's time that we're finished with this segment. But you had no other choice, Jayson Tatum. I loved his improvement, particularly when you saw him get into the lane more as their lead player, as Neil mentioned. Led them in scoring, became a first-time All-Star last season. And then you saw what he did in the playoffs, Marsha. You saw him like lead from the front, get the team to the Eastern Conference Finals. Sadly, they didn't get past the Miami Heat, but that's for lack of playmaking. Lack of playmaking in their best three players. I think that's another area of concern that Boston needs to address. But no, he wanted to do his first 3 seasons in the league. You've seen the growth of him as a player, especially on those step back threes now. And as I said, getting to the lane more consistently. You'd see the next area of growth I would like to see, as I said just now, would his ability to make those players around him better via passing. But He's still young, but I want to say 22. So yeah, I like that. The growth has been there every single season to the point where he has been an all-star last year. And it just falls in line to keep these kids. You had to pay max dollars. I think it's like it's worth as much as 195. I think it's guaranteed three, and you have to hit certain marks to get
Yeah.
195. And in line of and considering what other people are being paid right now, I think that falls right in line.
Yeah.
Rookie max. That's what the rookie max extensions are worth right about now. And that's for argument's sake. I think you can arguably or comfortably say Jayson Tatum is a top 20, at the very least top 25 player in this league right now.
All right. So moving on to the Utah Jazz, Donovan Mitchell, a similar arrangement, 5 years with that possible max of 193 million. Guys, this just in or out?
Shoot. This just all the way in. That boy in that first round series with the Denver Nuggets against the Denver Nuggets, sorry, that boy put on a show. If you have to ask that question, whether you think he is worth it or not, I don't even think they thought about it in front office. I think they had that contract printed from the time he scored that second 50-point thing in the playoffs. They was like, you know what? We got the max contract here for you, buddy. We want you for as long as we can have you. So yeah, all the way in, man. The boy's a stud.
Justin?
Same, and I think they had that drafted well before. I mean, this is a guy who stepped in for Gordon Hayward immediately and had them making the playoffs almost again immediately as the best player on that team as a rookie. So I mean, it just goes to. I mean, it was almost immediate that you are going to give this guy that max deal. As Neil mentioned, the 250-point outings in that first round series against Denver went up 3-1. Arguably should have won that series, but I don't think that's any fault of his own. And like great scorer, decent playmaker, and it's just going to keep getting better and better and better. And yeah, it looks like a lot of money, but I think by the tail end of that contract, he may likely, and it may sound weird to say this, but he may likely outplay that 195 million. Said like to make it as an all-star in the loaded West as a guard. That just shows you how good the kid is. So
Undersized two guard too.
yeah, like he's at the very best, and I think you may be overselling it at 6'3", but he's 6'3", a guy that's asked to play the two, and then guard bigger players. No, like this was a no-brainer. Even before those double 50-point outings in that first round series, I think that contract would have been well inked, and it was just a matter of Donovan Mitchell to put pen to paper.
And then one more, we have De'Aaron Fox, Sacramento Kings, similar situation, 5 years, a max of 163 million. This just in or this just out?
For me, I can go this just in again simply because he has improved on his scoring. He has career highs in both scoring and retained his career high in rebounds. He's a very dynamic player. He can pass the ball really well. He can get to the ring. He is as quick as a hiccup. That boy is good. He's really good. In the context of the Sacramento Kings and what they're trying to do with that organization, I would say that he's pretty much he is who people pay to go to see in Sacramento. So it made sense for them to retain him, and he is getting better. So maturing very nicely. I don't think he's an all-star level as yet in the West, but the kid is improving. He's playing really well. He's a good character in the community. He's a good personality, good fella, affable chap, as Justin would say. I have no problem with it.
For me, Marsha, again, I said early on this will get repetitive, but it has to be this just in. You would say, well, he's not even an all-star, so it seems like a lot of money. But just remember that too happened for Klay Thompson. He got his max extension before he inevitably became an all-star. So you're really paying for potential.
Potential, yes.
He's already not an all-star, but he already averaged, I think, about 21 and 6 as a guard. And I think there were only a handful of players to do that last season. As Neil said, that's what we're going to see in Sacramento. And on top of that, he's only getting better and better. there are question marks over his ability or his range and ability to consistently knock down that jumper. But he's a terrific defender at the position, extremely fast, gets to the rim, a playmaker. As I said, he averaged about 6 assists per game at that position. And I think the Sacramento Kings are only in line to get better with the ultimate steal in the draft for me in Tyrese Halliburton, because now you've added a 6'5" guard in the backcourt with him, and he can defend both positions. He can play off of De'Aaron Fox, because he has the ability to shoot. I think he shot it at 43% from behind arc in college. He can also pass, so it means that he can play on the ball next to De'Aaron Fox as well. So you're going to see now Sacramento is going to have a very dynamic backcourt, and that's only going to make De'Aaron Fox look better. I believe De'Aaron Fox will make the All-Star team this year and justify that contract. He will. He's going to justify that contract quickly if he already hasn't justified it right now. It's just it's the only thing that's probably held him back from making an All-Star game is that Sacramento is that bad by a record, no fault of his own. Right. But I think you're going to see it now. He's going to become an All-Star. I mean, obviously there are certain injuries and people getting older, so you'll just naturally develop and take one of those spots. Yeah, and again, but the biggest point as to why you had to pay him is kind of twofold. One, you see free agents don't go to Sacramento, so you're going to have to draft and develop your players. And secondly, if you don't pay your best players in a place like Sacramento that does not attract free agents, then your players are going to up and leave or are not going to want to come. Because if you have a guy like De'Aaron Fox who is clearly producing and you don't pay him, then the question mark will always be, but if you can't pay him, then what about us who are not nearly as good? Then this is not a place to be, just like what Phoenix has gone through a number of years under owner Robert Sarver. And it's why we've not been able to attract free agents like we did in the past. So it was just a no-brainer. You had to pay, not just by production, but because you're not a free agent destination. And you have to send a message to the players in the organization that we're going to take care of the best that are here right now.
A month away from that eagerly anticipated start of the NBA season. And we'll have all of the action, all of the news, the latest. We need to start an unofficial James Harden watch, like where will Harden end up? Because clearly with a month to go, something has to give. But that's it from us here on This Just In. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends and family. Subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our uploads and any of our videos. We're on YouTube, of course, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So you have no excuse for missing any of our content. Any questions you want to put, any comments you want to make, you can find us in any social media space. Of course, we have the mailbag coming up this Thursday at 9 p.m. Barbados time, 8 p.m. Eastern. I have those times correct because, this daylight savings time change sometimes, messes me up. But 9 p.m. Barbados time, 8 p.m. Eastern. So join us on our Instagram channel for the mailbag where you
Marsha,
can have
that suggestion,
discussion.
I'm going to start that James Harden watch from tomorrow or Wednesday. I'm going to start that. I'm going to host. Yeah, no laugh. I'm.
No, I laughing because you may be camped out outside Houston Arena.
No, don't laugh. We're always looking for new and exciting segments on the show. So I think I'm going to start hosting a live either one day this week, starting a James Harden watch. Unfortunately, we're going to end it whenever he's traded. Don't mind all the posturing from Houston. So I'm going to start that. I like that suggestion. Marsha, so look for us either Tuesdays or Wednesdays for our James Harden watch.
And this just in, the place to be for all of your sporting action, whether it's NBA, the NFL, the MLB, you name it, we have it right here. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And do join us next week and the week after that and the week after that. I'm Marsha Boyce.
I am Justin Marvel.
And I am still the Neil Hoyt.
Saying goodbye.
I don't have a mark on my face, and I upset Johnny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. If God's with me, ain't nobody here against me. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes?